80 years ago, the Indian National Congress authorized Mohandas Gandhi to embark on a nationwide mass movement. That movement was famously and succinctly christened Bharat Chhodo Andolan, or Quit India Movement, to dislodge the imperial British rule. Either by a remarkable coincidence or by design, 80 years hence, the Congress Party's cadres, led by Rahul Gandhi, are engaged in Bharat Jodo Yatra, or Unite India journey. The Yatra is celebrated and reviled predictably along partisan lines, but beyond the inevitable exultation and excoriation, it has the potential to impact the country's politico-cultural landscape in the run-up to the 2024 parliamentary elections. To get a broader perspective, Mayank Chhaya Reports spoke to Anikendra Sen, a respected journalist, editor, astute political observer, and chairman of the Asia Pacific Communication Associates. Anikendra Sen. How do you look at, we are in the 80th year of 1942 Quit India movement under Mohandas Gandhi. Now we are looking at Bharat Jodo Yatra under Rahul Gandhi. How do you look at it?
Two radically different. Of course, first of all, like for me, as the older I've got, Mahatma Gandhi is an icon. I've lost my journalistic, what should I say, journalistic sense of fair balance, this, that, the other. I believe, at least from my side, that I don't think I need to balance everything all the time. And I do believe that Mohandas Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, was something else. So we cannot really compare him. That's one.
No, I was not comparing. No,
you're comparing the Quit India movement.
Yeah, Bharat Chhodo with Bharat Jodo. I think that's the inspiration.
I was coming to that. So what I'm saying is, it is, I think it's more from what I can see, it's more a response to the BJP's increasingly shrill call for Congress Mukt Bharat. So, and in fact, indeed, it appeared as if that call was getting more and more correct, that increasingly more and more parts of Bharat had become so-called Congress Mukt. It's down to, Congress is now down to, on its own, two states, just basically two states, when it was 13 states in 2014.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's really, I think it's really sunk to its lowest. And it seemed to all and sundry that the BJP's call for Congress Mukt Bharat was actually succeeding. If not Congress being replaced necessarily by the BJP, but in many parts of India by non-BJP parties, whether it is the Trinamool or it's wherever, the YSR Congress, KCR in Telangana. So I think this is one response which has come. It seems to be a very well-calculated response. And Bharat Jodo is a very cleverly crafted slogan because it seeks very clearly, first and foremost, it seeks very clearly to differentiate the Congress from the BJP. Because even now with just two states in India, the Congress still happens to be the largest, let's put it, non-BJP party in terms of reach and so on. It's still, and more importantly, there are still around 200 Lok Sabha seats where it still continues to be a Congress versus BJP one-to-one battle. That's a fairly substantial number of seats in the parliament. So I think that's first thing that they've sought to do is to clearly differentiate between Congress and the BJP. And of course, I can put forward many other points. It is clearly meant to be the rejuvenation or the resurrection, whatever you want to call it, rebirth of not just the Congress party, but of Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi has proved since 2014 to be a pretty colossal failure as far as party organization man is concerned. Wherever he's been made fun of, and people have been saying, taunting him, saying wherever he goes to campaign for the Congress, the party promptly loses. And there is this differentiation between Rahul Gandhi and naturally Narendra Modi. Incidentally, even though he's very low down in the ratings, Rahul Gandhi rates higher than in virtually every other leader in the national scene. He's
Right.
nowhere near Modi's rating,
Correct.
but the second highest rating is still Rahul Gandhi. So basically what has happened is he has been a failure. He's not been a Congress organization man. I mean, he has not succeeded in actually rejuvenating the Congress organizations down the right in the state, let's say at the state government, state level,
Right.
level on the district and the the panchayat level. So even that he's failed. I mean, the people he's put in charge almost invariably have led to revolts within the Congress, people leaving the Congress, and so on and so forth. So clearly, he is not a public speaker to match Modi, and clearly, he's not an organizational man to match Amit Shah. So there are two guys here, Modi and Amit Shah.
Right.
So Rahul is neither an Amit Shah nor a Modi, and I think he's realized that quite some time ago, which is why frankly, he has consistently refused in recent times to take up any party position.
Yeah.
Much to the, what should I say, much to the surprise of the, not just the party people, but of the public at large. The media, for instance, still sees some kind of a conspiracy of the Gandhi family. I'm not so sure that it's any longer that the Gandhi family is conspiring to stay on by putting up some puppets here or there. So I do believe Rahul Gandhi has realized his shortcomings, and he's taken on a sort of role where clearly what is happening now in India, I have not, of course, as a journalist, as a reporter, I would love to go and join that yatra and see what the heck is going on. Like,
right.
Mayank, it's like the good old days when we go to the field and
Absolutely.
see what's happening. So I get second-hand reports. Of course, the newspapers and the media don't the big media doesn't cover this at all. I do get live feeds we get on the net from Indian Express. They're picking up the Congress feed on
Right.
YouTube. So I rely on the feeds to see what I'm watching in the feeds, and I also rely on pretty sound on the ground reports from the media, from the internet media like Stroll or the Wire or whatever it is. Lots of those guys are covering it pretty thoroughly,
Right.
as indeed they've done in the past. For instance, in the Kisan movement, which happened 2 years ago. So I've been watching that, and clearly Rahul Gandhi, who is not a great public speaker, seems to have attracted. I can say only seems to have. I'm not saying has, but seems to have attracted public attention in a far larger manner than he has ever done when he's held a series of public rallies during elections and so on. The crowds are nowhere near the size, those crowds, the
Right.
earlier ones, nowhere near the size of what he's attracting now. Secondly, from what I see, there's an enormous amount of enthusiasm I see in people. Now, whether it is, what there's this word in Urdu or Hindi, whatever, called tamash been. So whether there's this a bunch of tamash beans who are coming to see the new film star, or if whether they are really genuine, again I can't tell. But I would imagine that such a large number of people coming, and the kind of what should I spontaneous exhibition of joy or enthusiasm or whatever you may
Right.
call it is very difficult to sort of stage. Let's put
Right.
it that way.
Right.
There are kids who are jumping around. He's carrying them on his shoulder. I don't think that's staged. Clearly, I can see as an old fox, as a journalist,
Right.
I can't see Rahul Gandhi saying, "Okay, here I'll pick up a child and put the child on my shoulder," which he did earlier today.
Yeah, I saw
Or
that.
yes, or here is a woman, I will grab her hand and do. It seems to be very seamlessly spontaneous what is happening, both from the side of Rahul Gandhi and from the side of the public at large. Of course, this is happening in the south. I have no idea what will happen as he progresses north.
Right.
But it is giving him a new lease of life. And I think what I'll do is I'll wait for questions from you because I have lots of other things to say.
No, no, sure. You know, one of the things that I have often thought about when it comes to the Modi Shah combine and the way they run the BJP, uh, Bharat Jodo Yatra to me seems like bringing an argument to a gunfight.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, okay.
Now, I mean, it's possible that given that a lot of people are disenchanted and tired of this constant bilious discourse that the 2014 rise of these two have caused it, and they may prefer sort of an argument to a gunfight. But I think from a distance, it seems that as a political strategy, it could be problematic.
Mayank, very clearly, also, there is a feeling in the Congress, which they have articulated from whatever I've read of their statements, the few of their leaders whom I know personally, that, and this is nothing, this is no state secret, the media has totally shut not only them off, but most of the non-BJP parties, most of the, what should I call it, uh, the most of the social, sorry, the non-governmental, non-political, non-organized sector, they're all being shut off. In India, as of now, whether it's print or it's television, seems to be only one entity which is covered, and that by and large happens to be the BJP and its allies.
Right.
The Congress has received, as clearly they have said, they've not received any coverage. And if they have received coverage, it's been very derogatory or dismissive or whatever. So the Congress has had no choice but to go, as they have clearly said, to go to the public at large and express what they want to say to the public at large, because then there's no one between them and the public. There's no newspaper baron, there's no TV anchor shouting and yelling, none of this. There is no middleman between
Right.
the Congress leadership and the people at large. Even middleman, I would include middleman Congress leaders who claim, who want to be the vote bank holders and so on. I think what's happened is Rahul Gandhi is cut across them also, because I see a whole lot of intermediate Congress leaders who are joining that rally desperately or otherwise, and it has made a difference, because that's the only way. The Congress says, the Congress leadership has told me personally, and of course the media at large, that they are not, they cannot trust the Indian media to actually cover any opposition party, leave alone the
Right.
Congress, all the others. So this, they said, is the only choice. They have only two fora. One is Parliament, and the other is the is the media. The
Right.
media, they found, doesn't exist, and the Parliament also has been increasingly truncated in the number of sittings it has, and so on and so forth, leaving the Congress, and I presume all the others will also follow suit, leaving the Congress with no choice but to go directly to the people.
Right.
So this is the basic point that is happening. And in the process, what Rahul Gandhi seems to have done, which he failed to do as Congress president, acting president, whatever he has been before, he seems to have been able to kind of resurrect the Congress organizational machine much more than he had done when he was trying to fight elections with the BJP.
Right.
The Congress machinery, as they say, virtually every village still has one Congress guy hanging around somewhere, you know. So virtually what is happening is that the Congress machinery, which is creaky and old and so on, and unenthusiastic, appears to be rising. Now, how far we can go when they come north is something
Right.
only time will tell. So only time will tell.
Right. But the sense that I get looking at him, like I said from here, is that he's an outsider looking in. He's not an insider himself, even for the party. Now that's a peculiar position to take for such a long time. And if he has any ambitions beyond what he's doing in terms of formal political power, do you think an approach like that can work, or he can say, "Listen, I'm not into formal positions. I have crafted a role which works for me, and that's that."
I think the second is more correct. I think it's something that This guy has learned by, first of all, he seemed to be, I have met him once or twice. Of course, I have not had intense conversation, never been able to. But he has struck me as an outsider, just as his father was an outsider.
Right.
However, the difference was the father jumped into politics and became an insider. This guy has jumped into politics, and as you correctly point out, he still remains an outsider.
Right.
And therefore, I don't think he is interested in being prime minister as of now. I don't know whether things will change. He's not interested in being prime minister. Look, he does things which shake up people and sometimes very wrong. I remember the press club incident where he tore up this thing, and then Manmohan Singh, poor fellow, was out of town. He was prime minister. People said, what kind of a fellow is this? So he behaves like an outsider, even in his own party.
Right.
I mean, this is a rank indiscipline, what he did in the press club.
But I mean, anyone else would have been expelled.
Yes, exactly. Except he's the guy who does the expelling, So I think he clearly has realized he's an outsider, and I think he probably prefers that, which is where the second part of the Congress strategy, if there is one, which I don't know if it's a well thought out, comes into play, which is Mallikarjun Kharge.
Yeah.
Mallikarjun Kharge is the second person in this twin. One is an outsider and maybe a public figure, and the other is an organizational man. This fellow has won, Mallikarjun has won 11 or 12 elections continuously in the Karnataka Assembly. Right. He's won 2 Lok Sabha elections. The last one he lost. He has enormous experience as an organization man. He's been the party president in Karnataka. Of course, he never became the chief minister because various reasons. I would like to say perhaps caste played a role. I'm not sure. He is a Dalit leader. There's no question about it. And he knows the organization inside out. No, look what happened is the moment he got elected, Sachin Pilot said, at last one chap has come who will now listen to all of us. Words to that effect.
Right.
So did Prithviraj Chauhan. 2 guys who were I think they were part of the group of 23 or whatever who were dissenting. Both are now expecting Mallikarjun Kharge they don't expect Rahul Gandhi to do this. They're expecting Kharge to do it. So there is a possibility that Rahul will continue to make a noise outside, create get the crowds going and so on and so forth. But it will be Kharge who will be running the show. How far he'll do that, we don't know. Only again, to use the Times of India edit expression, only time will tell.
That's funny. Well, time will tell a lot of things. Kharge, I wrote a piece for a website here. Kharge was born a week after Bharat Chhodo Andolan was announced.
Yes.
He's that vintage. Not that there is anything wrong with it.
No, he's that vintage. Yes.
To quote Seinfeld. My problem is this: if the party is looking to rejuvenate against someone as aggressively focused as Amit Shah or even Narendra Modi, how do they propose to do it with someone like Kharge? I'm sure he has all the attributes that you're talking about, but a lot of people are looking beyond that. Do you think it could be a problem come 2024?
Well, much depends on what happens to the Congress from here on after.
Right.
I mean, you actually had an election, no matter what everybody says, that it was a rigged election. They said it was an election.
Right.
At a point of time which no other party, barring, I think, the communists, actually have elections.
Yeah.
And even the communists decide in a group, okay, the Kerala group versus the West Bengal group and so on and so forth, but they have elections. And the Congress is the first one to have one. The BJP hasn't had an election in yonks.
Right.
I mean, so the point is, there has been an election. Whether it's a false election or not is immaterial. You had one. So the next step, I would assume, if Kharge and Rahul Gandhi, if they're actually working together, which I suspect they are going to be, otherwise they are doomed. I mean, just understand they are watching. They are going to be mukt, meaning they just got two states. So they are hanging on like grim death. They have no choice but to make things go, or they're out. So I think that the next step will be what happens at the state level. You remember, I think, yes, you're old enough now. I'm sorry to say this.
No, I am very old, yes.
Yes, in your time, if you remember, the Congress had party bosses in the states who were tough guys, whether it was a Rajni Patel or a Chavan. You had people who were strong men in their own right in different states.
They were all satraps, as it were.
They were satraps, but they were satraps which did not necessarily all the time bow and scrape. This bowing and scraping started with Mrs. Gandhi, frankly speaking. So I'm saying that if you go back to having satraps, if you go back to having organizational elections at the state level, the district level, whatever, panchayat level, and you actually have representative congressmen at every level, there will be a different ball game taking place. And this we can see, time will not tell. Very shortly, we will know what Kharge is going to do. I mean, if he's going to sit on his bum and twiddle his thumb, then you know that nothing's going to happen. Then it's business as usual, and so on. But if he starts now, for instance, his first point is how does he? I don't think he will make much of an impact in the Himachal and Gujarat elections. It's too late for it now. But even there, he could make a small difference. Let us see what he does in the selection of candidates. Although they are doing it, let us see what he does in the organizational level, the kind of people who are sent as observers and so on and so forth. Let us see how he uses a young guy like Kanhaiya Kumar, who's hanging around there. He's part of the Yatra. If I remember right, the last Gujarat elections, the Congress came within a whisker of winning that election, the last one. I mean, and Kanhaiya Kumar was very much part of that, as was Jignesh Mehwani and such like characters who were young people. A lot of JNU sort of Bharat Chhodo gang were there.
And I've been following both. They're quite brass knuckle. They can talk the same language. In fact, sometimes they can out-talk the Modi Shah combined.
Yes, they can. They can be tough talkers. They can, yes. So let us see what Kharge does. And why I mentioned Kanhaiya Kumar, he's just one person. He's a young chap.
No, I understand.
Yes, Mehwani is left. I don't know whether he's come back. All right. Let us see. Hardik Patel, he buzzed off, So the point is, let us see what Kharge does with the younger lot who's sitting there in the Congress. If he starts rejuvenating the younger lot, then you know that probably it's a going concern.
There was a movie called The Untouchables. Brian De Palma. There is a great line in that which Al Capone speaks, ironically. He says, when men become preeminent, they are expected to have enthusiasms. My question is, does Mr. Kharge have the enthusiasm now that he is preeminent in the party?
I don't know him personally because I haven't interacted with him, or even I've seen his performance in Parliament. He's a quiet guy, but he gives as good as he gets. First of all, his Hindi is better than Rahul Gandhi's. And then he speaks several other languages, Kannada, for instance, Urdu. So he has been a union leader in primarily in Karnataka, but a union leader. So he is a grassroots guy. So I think some semblance, some bit of his early life is probably still there. I mean, he's about 7 or 8 years older, and I still have some part of my, early life. So I don't see why he can't. I think that if he wants to save this party, and if this is his final bow, let's put it that way, then he has to move and do this. The only point is, how will the old codgers react? This has happened. It has been, I understand that every time Rahul Gandhi has sought to make changes at the state level, it's the old codgers old codgers meaning my age, or maybe slightly younger, maybe somewhat your age, a little older than you, who have been resisting this. And so it's come to be that, there is a Sonia faction and there is a Rahul faction. And the Sonia faction is the former Rajiv faction. Now, I don't know how true this is, but a lot of the guys, for instance, Ghulam Nabi Azad was an old codger, even though we regard him as a young guy, he's not. and he never got elected. He was always selected.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's the last guy who should talk about elections.
Yeah, go ahead.
See, the other guy who's there, very much there, and who has attracted quite a lot of attention from the aware middle class, the English speaking elite, so on and so forth, is Shashi Tharoor.
Right. I was coming to him for us with a separate question. Yeah.
Yes. So much also depends on what Kharge will do with Tharoor.
And now that he got about 1,000 votes out of.
He did. And there should be no compulsion on Kharge. It shouldn't seem to be. I don't think it will be a compulsion. Yeah. If Kharge means to resurrect and rejuvenate and make the party younger, he has to do something with someone like Tharoor, who's got about 12% of the vote in the party,
right,
and who's got the young. I mean, I've been seeing the reaction of the young, and they're saying the Congress is doomed. They didn't choose Shashi Tharoor, and he's the darling of the public here.
He is, and he has pan-Congress appeal, as it were.
Yes,
perhaps the only person who has that.
Yes, and he's quick on the, he's quick with the response and so on.
And the accent helps.
Accent helps a lot, even though we have an anti-colonial movement going on 75 years after the colonials went. But his accent helps.
Even they like him.
Yes, yes. Why are they sending their kids to your part of the world to study, for God's sake?
Yeah.
So I think that Tharoor, someone like Jairam Ramesh, who is not young, even Tharoor isn't, he's in his 60s.
Yeah, right.
But much younger than...
he's 66, yeah.
Yes, so he's older than you.
I've been checking up on all these ages. So... And I'm very interested to know from you, Badsha, when he reaches Kashmir after at the end of 150 days and 3,700 kilometer track.
Yes.
What do you think? I mean, it's speculative. What do you think will happen? Is he going to be making some grand affair out of it, or you think he should? What do you think should happen?
Well, I think that he'll reach there around December, right? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So first of all, there's very little he can do with the snow that happens there, That's one. But that is a fairly delicate situation that is happening because, he can lead with his chin and get the BJP accusing him of playing the game of Pakistan, the usual, that you're the separatists, you're secessionists, you're encouraging terrorism. So he'll have to tread very, very cautiously there. I think if all he continues to say and do is, look, I am for the brotherhood of man, and I believe that peace should prevail, and I believe that people of Kashmir and Kerala are the same, and they, the broad generalities which can't be offensive. You can't say anything against it. If he sticks to that, I think it will make a big difference to the Kashmiris, not so much to the Keralites, but Kashmiris are feeling somewhat, from what I gather, are feeling somewhat left out of what's happening in the political firmament here.
Right.
So I think maybe if that's what he does, but I don't think he's going to make any provocative statements or any statement which could be provoking people.
Yeah. Once the yatra is over, and when the high subsides, and you come back to the humdrum of a party being run by Mr. Kharge, what does Rahul Gandhi really do after that?
Well, by the way, Rahul Gandhi is taking a day or two off to attend Kharge's swearing in or whatever they do, and so he's taking 2 days off. So he is careful to be seen that he's there with Kharge.
Just as Sonia Gandhi went to Kharge's house.
Yes, that was also pointed out that here she's gone there instead of he going here. All these symbolisms that we Orientals have. I don't think the West understands all this.
No, they don't. They don't.
They don't. So I think that once I understand there's going to be another yatra.
I see.
I can't vouch for that, but I read or heard somewhere that this is a north-south yatra, there's going to be east-west yatra.
Oh, I see.
How? And because they are avoiding Gujarat and such like places as of now. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Gujarat is a detour. I mean, purely in terms of the yatra route, it is a detour. It's understandable. That's what Jairam Ramesh points out again and again.
Yes.
Much to the chagrin of pathetically ill-informed television journalists. But anyway, that's a separate.
That's a separate question.
Badsha, the BJP base of between 33 to 38% remains as unassailably committed to Narendra Modi as it was in 2014, and it's likely to continue with that. And given the fractious nature of the country's electorate, rather, how do you think the opposition can make any difference at all?
Well, I wouldn't say that the entire BJP vote base is impregnable. I mean, please understand that the BJP expanded exponentially. I mean, by gobbling up other guys or inviting people in. I mean, I understand that various, why do we have to understand? We know that various blandishments were held out for people to change sides, to go. Now, everyone, I mean, there were a sizable number of people who moved over to the BJP, who moved over with their vote base. Let us say someone like Jyotiraditya Scindia. I mean, he moved from the Congress to the BJP and retained that vote base, which went to the BJP, which was earlier with the Congress. So, I mean, you've got people like this who are in the BJP, but who are now likely to suffer an eclipse. For instance, the BJP did mighty well in West Bengal in 2019.
Right.
I don't think it's going to do mighty well in West Bengal in 2024. All right. The BJP did exceedingly well along with Nitish. They did very well in Bihar. Now Nitish is very clearly seen the light. Let's put it this way. Nitish is a pragmatist. He knew the problem. I'm sorry, I changed a little bit. The problem with the BJP is they're not content in forming power. They want to gobble their allies also. No, they want to become the number one guy. So
yeah, because their agenda is beyond power, right? They want to. It's an ideological, cultural, Hinduizing agenda that they are following.
That, of course, yes, indeed. But yes, and so in other words, to have a Hinduized agenda to be fulfilled, a lot of Hindutva guys have joined the BJP.
Right.
Those who were secular guys earlier. Yeah. I know that they are changeable fellows, but they would be contaminating, let's put it, to use a rather harsh word, contaminating the pure ranks of the Hindutva walas in the BJP. All right. Now, what I'm trying to say is that there are a whole lot of these guys. Let's take Eknath Shinde. I am told by my friends in Maharashtra, he's had it. In fact, he's likely to be gobbled up by the BJP, and he knows it. In the process, in Maharashtra, the mood swing will be towards Uddhav Thackeray, towards the Sena. And the Sena has come out full-throatedly in favor of this yatra of Rahul Gandhi. So it's unlikely that the Uddhav Thackeray Sena and the Congress will part company anytime soon. So in Maharashtra, there is going to be attrition to the BJP ranks. In Bihar, there's going to be attrition. In West Bengal, where they won a pretty monumental size of the vote in the 2019 election, there should be likely to be attrition. You notice I'm leaving out UP because UP is a known quantity. I don't know where it's going. By and large, I try to avoid crossing the Jamna, because it becomes UP, the Wild West. So I think there's going to be an attrition, whether the BJP can hope. In Karnataka, I'm given to understand, and from the rally, of course, that's no indication. But I am told that my journalist friends in Karnataka have told me that if Siddharamaiah and Mallikarjun Kharge can affect with Shivakumar and Siddharamaiah, if they stay together, the Congress is likely to sweep 150 odd seats in Karnataka. in the assembly election.
Right.
And I believe that there will be an equal impact in the Lok Sabha election. So I don't think, you see, a lot of the Modi vote is not Hindutva. It's still development plus Hindutva.
Right.
They haven't totally abandoned development. Their idea of development, from what I see, and which is where UP has steadfastly been with Modi, is exactly the kind of freebies which are being given to the people there. Yeah. It has become, I mean, it's amazing amazing the manner in which the freebies are reaching. The big thing about the BJP are reaching the people. They are making sure that what's it called? The public distribution system actually reaches the last mile. Right. So there are people sitting there in UP, most of them, many of them unemployed, relying on handouts for food grains and stuff like that, saris. So those guys are going to vote steadily for Modi, not because they're Hindutva necessarily, but because they're getting the fruits of development, which is basically don't do any work and generally live off the fat of the land, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So I think apart from that, UP, I do believe there will be attrition in the BJP ranks. Let us say a chunk of the those who voted for Modi on the development platform. Yeah. Those who voted for Modi on the Hindutva platform will remain unshaken, but we don't know what chord that constitutes. I really don't know how much is the Hindutva vote and how much is the development vote. I do believe there'll be attrition in the developmental ranks.
Right.
Also, what is...
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What is happening, Mayank, and this is a social phenomenon. If you remember, we are back to some extent. We are back to Mandal and Mandir. Right. Nitish is now Mandal. There was a huge difference between the BJP and Nitish over the caste census. Nitish wanted a caste census. BJP is against it. Right. So there is these back to the OBCs, back to the Mandal platform, which is now with Nitish and Lalu in Bihar, and the same thing is happening in Karnataka. Right. Again, I believe that there is there are the OBCs and so on who are again moving away from the BJP. The BJP had, apart from Hindutva, they also had an exponential increase in their numbers through the OBCs. You know, both in the north and the south. Right. I do believe that chunk will likely move away.
Yeah. You know, the segment that bought into, in 2014, that bought into Modi's pitch of development for all, now they have had 8 years to assess whether that has happened.
Yes.
And they'll have 2 more years, but 2 more years are essentially lame duck. The substantial part of the term is over now.
Yes.
How do you think, sitting there in Delhi, this particular segment might assess what has happened over the last 8 years?
Well, Mayank, first of all, I do believe, I don't think that this kind of development can be sustained for very long. We are running on a deficit. You know, basically, there is no jobs being created, no income being generated, I don't know whether you recall, not so long ago, Nirmala Sitharaman had a meeting with industrialists where she actually berated them, asked them why they were not investing. Indian industrialists, I'm not talking about the foreign ones.
Right.
Indian industrialists, she said, are you something, compared them to Hanuman? Are you scared of your own power? I don't know what she was saying, but basically she was moaning and groaning about the fact that Indian industrialists are not investing in India. So there is no growth happening to the economy as such. I mean, no exponential growth. Of course, it's growing. There's no question about it, but no exponential. So the point is, this development platform where people will assess their states just now, I think it's already begun happening because for various factors, prices, they're no longer able to afford what they were able to afford 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before COVID. So they're no longer able to afford that. There has been somewhat of frenzy in the market, buying frenzy. So I think a bit of that assessment is already happening.
Right.
You know, and also So already sitting in Delhi, you can see the grumblings that are taking place.
Right.
See, at the end of the day, if you have a young guy who hasn't got a job, I mean, there were riots in UP when the railway recruitment
Right.
was happening. So if you have those kind of, and okay, they were contained and so on and so forth. If all you can say is, don't worry about jobs, we are giving you free food after a while, like, I mean, for God's sake, there is something
Absolutely.
called your ego. There is something
Yeah.
called, yes, that
Yeah.
you don't want to eat free food. So I
Absolutely.
think it's already begun happening. Yes.
Just as it has been foolish on the part of the BJP to say that absolutely nothing happened before they came to power,
Yes.
it's equally perhaps not in the small in the same percentage. It would be equally disingenuous to say that absolutely nothing happened
No,
in the
no, no,
last.
no, no. Things have
So
happened.
yeah, in speaking of which, as a journalist sitting in Delhi, what do you think would be the salient points that you would make if you were to say be a spokesperson of the BJP, which is insult in itself to you? But I'm saying if you were to tell them that, listen, guys, these are the things you have done which you are not projecting at all. You are so wrapped up in your bilious agenda.
Well, certainly what has happened is the complete the expansion, the huge expansion in, I don't know the right technical term for it. Is it called stacks? I mean, basically the expansion in the non-money economy, in the ease with which transactions are taking place.
Right.
I hate to do this. Most journalists do this. The old days, you land up somewhere and talk to the panwala and get your fee back. But what happens here is, in this building, we have this guy, the dhobi, who
Right.
takes your clothes, irons it, and returns it in the evening. They take in the morning.
Right.
Now it used to be a nuisance for me to get money to pay, meaning money meaning change, because it's loose change.
Right.
So now he takes GPay, he takes
Yeah.
Paytm. So this has been huge.
It
It has
is.
it
It is.
has
Yeah.
been enormous in India, and this has definitely been done by this government. I
And
mean,
it
the
is
BJP.
transforming life.
Yeah,
You cannot deny it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it has encouraged everyone to open bank accounts.
Right.
The dhobi, who's my butcher. I know you're a vegetarian. I don't want to discuss meat.
That's
But,
okay.
but you know, when the demonetization happened, he was helpless because I didn't know how to pay him. He didn't know how to. So he was keeping an account. But now I call him on the phone. I order what I want. He delivers it here, and I pay him
Right.
on this virtual money or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So that has created a lot of impact in the market. It has included a lot of people who are outside the organized sector, even though they were part of it at the same time. I think
Right.
that is the single largest achievement that the BJP has made in recent times.
That's very interesting, and it directly impacts ordinary lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and for some strange reasons, you don't hear them projecting that. They are so wrapped up in other.
They are not. Yes, the Economist did a huge story on this, cover story,
Yeah.
about how India is going to take off because of this. Whether
Yeah.
it's going to or not is a different. But the
Right.
Economist had a cover story. But the BJP is keeping quiet. I don't know why. I'm
It's
quite
a
amazed.
strange thing. It's a strange thing. I don't understand either. Yeah.
Yes. So
Uh,
that is
n-
one.
Now, just last couple of things. One is this is again entirely I'm pulling it out of my hat, but I've heard it a few people talk about it that come 2024 and Narendra Modi will essentially say I'm done. मैं तो झोला लेके निकल पड़ता हूँ जी मेरा तो हो गया. I mean, to tell you the truth, if I were advising him, I would tell him precisely that he should do that. That listen, I have done my bit. In keeping with the great Hindu tradition, I am entering a phase of life where I have to do other things. So thank you very much. And he walks off. Trust me, there will be temples made for him in about 15 minutes if he did that.
Yes, but I shudder to think. I mean, what has been happening in our polity
Yeah.
is that the new guy who takes over makes the last guy look good. For instance, Modi makes Advani look good, although Advani started it all.
Right.
You know, the Hindutva bandwagon. Well, now, if he does what you say, and clearly you know who's likely to take over, and that's that monk in UP.
Yeah.
And that monk is out of control. He is not under the control of the RSS either.
No, he's not. Yeah.
He's not an RSS guy. I mean, there's no discipline that he follows. Yeah. So I shudder. I would beseech Modi to say, if that's the choice, frankly speaking, although in his own career, it would be a great move.
Right.
And
maybe he'll think, he's known to be self-centered anyway. So he might think selfishly and say, listen, I did my bit. And thank you very much. It's like Trump making George Bush look good here, or Dick Cheney.
Yes. A good analogy. Yes.
Yeah. No, but I really hear a lot of. In the US, they have a very strong Hindu base, RSS.
Yes.
A lot of the RSS types, in fact, have implied that you shouldn't be surprised if he does it in keeping with the great tradition of Hinduism.
Well, from what I hear, that is also a bit of wishful thinking on the part of the RSS, because a lot of the RSS are very uncomfortable with an individual achieving the kind of stature Modi has. I mean, this is the nature of such things. I mean, the communists, for instance, ended up with Stalin. Now they've, of course, gone to Kim Jong-un. I mean, so and here, I'm not saying Modi is a Stalin or a Kim Jong-un, but he kind of overshadows everybody. And the RSS kind of is an organization, what little I know of that, which doesn't appreciate such things.
True.
So they might want him to go, but I don't think they'll want Adityanath to take over. I mean, their agenda may be Hindutva India, and so on, but they don't want some unguided missile to take over, you see, and go hither and thither.
Yeah.
So I think there is a little uneasiness in the RSS about all this.
Right.
And the more, let's put it, sober elements, or let's say the older elements who are cautious about making too much haste for all this, they are not happy, I think, that with what's happening. And I don't think they will even want Modi to go, even though they're not happy with him, but they won't want Modi to go. You see, if you have Modi replaced, but the point is, those guys are they're more or less the same. Rajnath Singh, or you talk about Nitin Gadkari.
Okay.
Nitin Gadkari is a Pramod Mahajan type. Everybody loved Pramod Mahajan. Even the Congress loved him.
Yeah.
So Nitin Gadkari is in that mold, not even in the Advani mold, you see.
Right.
So, but I don't think that's happening. I mean, he was dropped from the what's it called,
whatever the decision make parliamentary.
Yes.
When Babri Masjid happened, Tarun Basu and I had a seminal interview, the only interview that Vajpayee granted, which practically split the party, because he was extremely critical. On the record, he was very critical, but off the record, the kind of things he said about his own party was astonishing. And among the things that he said, "Hum moderate kahan jayenge?" Given what we have now, the definition of moderates has changed.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So the current moderates, where do you think they might go if this goes on?
Well, as we were talking about, we find that Modi might be the current moderate, you see. But otherwise, there is nowhere for them to go. I mean, I can't see them. There was a time when BJP guys, particularly in Gujarat, were joining the Congress. In fact, but there's no Congress for them to join, which is a sort of, and I can't see them joining the likes of Mamata Banerjee or.
What about AAP?
AAP is a difficult quantity to kind of put your finger on. I mean, we really can't tell what is AAP. AAP seems to be. I think we would come to a better understanding of AAP in a year or so when they've had experience of running Punjab, which is a full-fledged state. In Delhi, they don't have control over the police. They don't have control over the DDA, which used to build buildings. I don't know what they do now, and so on. So they're a half state here, and the lieutenant governor overrules everything that Kejriwal wants to do. Whereas in Punjab, they are very much there. So it remains to be seen. It seems to be a, a basically a party which runs civic bodies, corporations and so on. They'd be excellent if they were to run a city, like say Delhi.
Exactly.
But I don't know whether they can run a state properly.
Yeah, so you're right. After a year or so, you'll know. But
Yes, then we'll know because we'll have that experience. Yes.
Speaking of which, suppose they score 8, 10, 15 seats in Gujarat.
Yes.
That would be quite a triumph for a party.
Indeed. Yes.
And there are, from what I hear, it's possible that they'll get at least 2, 3, if not more.
No, since you obviously must have still got links there.
Yeah.
Yes. So have they got enough candidates? Have they found reasonably suitable candidates, or what are they doing? Body snatching?
No, a lot of unknown youngsters are jumping in.
Okay.
And that's been their model anyway. All of these guys were unknown, who are known now. So I think they are happy with Arvind Kejriwal as their mascot, doing whatever he's doing.
Yes.
There is no one else. He's the only so-called superstar in that realm. And to conclude, Badsha, you've been at it for a long time as a journalist.
Yes. Far too long.
So have I. I have done 42 years. So it's it's a long time.
Although you're younger than me, you're my contemporary. Let's put it that way.
No, that cannot be.
Well, we were covering Gujarat together.
No, that's true. But didn't you start earlier than me? No.
I started in 1973.
Oh, no, so quite a bit earlier.
Oh, okay.
I started in 81. So.
Oh, okay.
No, but that's not my point. Is, as someone who has observed for close to 50 years now, next year, where do you think India is headed in terms of its sociological, cultural, and even spiritual equations?
You see, there is constantly there's a constant cry from sort of sad liberals.
Right.
And who are saying that the Congress or whoever has to put up another alternative, another narrative. The word is, I think it's still narrative. Maybe it will change shortly. So they are looking for another narrative. Now, unfortunately, the Congress actually had another narrative, which for whatever reason got subsumed when Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh launched their reforms. Now, the reforms by themselves were widely hailed and were, I believe, very good for the country, the economy, and so on. But the reforms overlooked the other part of what the Congress was trying to do, not necessarily perfectly, very badly, in a crooked fashion. All those opprobriums accepted was basically social welfare, a safety net.
Right.
India has no safety net. I'm an old guy. I don't have a safety net, and I'm reasonably well off. If I'm ill tomorrow, there's no safety net for me. All right. There was, if you remember, when Manmohan Singh became Prime Minister, the 2 terms he was there. The first term, there was the left supporting Manmohan Singh, and Sonia Gandhi had her own establishment where we had all these guys, all the Amartya Sen and all the guys sort of
seen as extra constitutional
Aruna Roy, all those guys, Aruna Roy, whoever, the lady who's tried to stop the Narmada Dam, what's her name?
The extremely woke crowd, as they would be described now.
Yes. So they were all there. Now that was an alternative, even while you're doing your economic reforms and your growth rate is shot up. There was a body of people looking, at least in some fashion, to see what the guys falling through the net were, how they were being looked after. That is not there either in the Congress or in the BJP.
True.
Now, I think that is what should happen. And I believe to some extent, I'm hoping, and it's something that you need to have. Otherwise, there's going to be complete social breakdown in this country.
Yes. No, I'm glad you mentioned that because both, people like Nitin Gadkari
Yes,
and even Hossable, they have
yes.
begun to shift a bit on this, recognizing that there is a problem. They
You
may not
see, the
say,
RSS has this. It has this philosophy.
yeah,
It, I mean, it has a fascist philosophy, which, let's say, Adolf Hitler also had. But to some extent, Adolf Hitler tried, at least projected, that we are looking after the poor Germans who are finished because of World War One reparations
right.
and so on. So a genuine RSS fellow, I mean, look at it this way: they get, whenever there's a disaster, they're the first guys who land up wearing their shorts.
Absolutely. No,
You
no, no, they do a remarkable job
and they
of it.
do a lot of work. I mean, whether it's, I remember here there was an awful plane crash not far from where I am. That two planes crashed
Yeah.
here in Turkey, Dagri. The first bunch is landing there with the RSS guys.
And it's to be commended. There is just
Yeah, of
no,
course, of
yeah.
course. Yes, so they have that, but Modi doesn't have it. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, because he's in power. He's not going to see all this.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that you need this, and this is the option that you have. By all means, grow. By all means, progress and so on. But what about the poor who are falling through the cracks? And it's increasing. That hunger index which these guys are
Yeah, I saw
dismissing.
that.
I mean, it's from last year Modi to this year Modi. We are not comparing Congress to BJP.
Right.
They've gone up from 101 to 107, 6 places down. So I mean, the point is there is nobody looking at that. And why I just wanted to point out to you that this yatra, I just did a little research. I actually took your Mayank, I actually take you very, very seriously. So I did a lot of homework.
My God.
You know,
That's my first time somebody has told me that.
yeah, I did a lot of homework. I take you seriously because you're an old buddy and you're a friend.
Yeah.
But you have Yogendra Yadav who joined the
Yeah.
yatra. You have you have uh, yes, you have Yogendra Yadav. You have Saida Hamid, Bezwada Wilson, who's the Safai Karamchari, Ninal Pandey, who's a journalist,
Yeah.
as you well know.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of people of the in the social sector who have joined this, and they're now, if they have joined it, then we have another little um, division where Rahul Gandhi should take care of these guys,
Right.
and Kharge should go on doing whatever he's doing. He should be the Narasimha Rao
You're right.
and protect the potential Manmohan Singh coming up.
Yeah.
I think that would be an ideal combination. And more importantly, I don't care who's in power, but I do care what happens to a very vast number of my country people, you know.
And again, if the RSS is talking about it, it is in the same vein as what the great Gandhi originally said about wiping the tears of the last person.
Yes, yes, yes.
And that's never going to go away, right?
No, no, and even the RSS has in the past supported such programs. Vehement, often, you know, they have done it.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know whether RSS can have a change of heart, but if they did, it would be welcome.
True, true.